My little dog.
Here we go. So welcome everybody to Random Dialogues 31. We're live for the next hour. It's Wednesday, the 11th of June. I'm joined by 6 speakers who are each going to speak for up to 6 minutes each. So welcome if you're joining us now and watching or on replay, and welcome to the speakers this evening. I'm just going to whiz round and ask everyone to introduce just the title of their talk, please. Claude.
Right. The title of my talk is From Small Islands to Big Ideas.
Fantastic. Becky.
Hi, I'm Becky Mealey, and my talk is Plant Establishment.
Thank you. Ruth.
Hi, I'm Ruth, and I've got the Face of Wellbeing, Face Yoga, Festivals and Finding Your Flow, and lots of other things beginning with F.
Fabulous. Christine.
Fabulous.
Doesn't that sound fantastic? Well, I'm Christine, and the Beetle made me do it, and you'll find out why in my talk.
Thank you. Val.
I'm Valerie Woodgager. I live in the Brecon Beacons, and my talk is called Climate Crisis Solvable in Our Lifetime.
Thank you.
I'm hearing because I can't see it very well.
Thank you. Niall.
I'm Niall Jones, and my talk is What 10 Years Living in Eastern Europe Taught Me About Connection, Community and Home.
Fantastic. Thank you. So welcome everybody and enjoy. So I'm going to invite, I'm just going to go back up to scroll, Claude to go first. So I'm going to put Claude into solo layout. Good luck and enjoy. And if the rest of us can go on to mute.
Thank you.
Whilst we enjoyed Claude's talk. So I'm just going to put your thing. I'm just going to put you into solo layout. Are you ready to go?
Yeah.
You ready?
Yeah,
okay, enjoy. Over to you.
Let's go. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody, from wherever in the world you're tuning into. My name is Claude Bonte, or Bonte de Beauvalon. That's another funny story with a double-barreled name that's self-made by myself. From small ideas to big ideas. What's it all about? Well, I was thinking about this quote. It's not what happens to you, it's what you do with what happens. If you live in England, England's another island, but it's a very big island, and you've got infinite resources. You can get stuff done very quickly, and you've got networks you can plug into. It's wonderful back in the academy days, which I always remember very fondly. When you live on a small island like Seychelles, it just doesn't work like that at all. There's 100,000 people. It's a beautiful group of islands, but it's you're limited into what you can actually do because you don't have you can't do a seminar and invite 1,000 people. You know, it's just not that kind of place. So since I've been here for the last 15 years, I've had to use all the skills that I've learned in England to basically do the stuff that I love doing. I actually came here because everything went wrong for me in England. You know, marriage went, wife went the other way. What am I saying? You know, the business went one way and the wife went the other way. And I just had to start again. By the time I got back to Seychelles, the old man passed away. And it was just by a sequence of everything going wrong. And I managed to kind of pick up the insurance business, and that almost went bankrupt twice as well by hiring the wrong employees. It's a real comedy. But I think once I got it back on the straight and narrow, I said, okay, what do I really love doing? What do I enjoy doing? One thing that I love doing was always networking and things like that for those people that would remember me from the academy days. So I set up a network called Eden Island VIP, and that led on to arranging seminars. And those seminars, it was a big high jump because, I mean, I kind of basically had to pay for everything myself and then make sure that I don't lose money. But people were not like in England where you can just do it and you'll make your money anyway. And I just said, just look at it as if you're paying for coaching. And that's what I did. So when I did Dizzy 2019, I bought Rachel Elenoff, and then I got to know her, lovely lady, and learned a lot from her. And then the last one, I got Mr. Ratner himself, and I remember he said, and I'll post the video at some point, where he said, look, if you haven't lost the 500 million pounds, you're doing really well. So just keep going. That was really nice flying back with him. It was really quite something. So I'm very thankful for that. I also have my own TV program called Movers and Shakers, and I'm sure Jane will put the link up so that you can see it at some point. So I've learned a lot over the time that I've been in Seychelles. I would say, you know, you have to really use what you've got, and you have to be, you know, I'd say that you have to be quite generous. And also the thing is, I think people ask the wrong questions all the time, and I get it every day when people say, "Do you think this business would work? What kind of business would you do to make money today?" I don't think it's about that, and I think the people that actually seem to do really well and they're very happy with what they're doing, I don't really believe they just did it to make money. But I think if you do it well enough, you know, go into your heart, for there your true treasures lie, then the money actually will flow, because you're giving a lot of value, but you're giving it in a way that's completely subconscious, like when you're driving, unconscious competence. You go at that level with what you're doing, so it doesn't actually really seem like work, and then everything else goes with it as well. So so I've been blessed to be able to do these things. I still have my insurance business, it still goes, but because of all the automation that there is, which we have available to our fingertips, I don't have to have an office with 10 people in it and go in every day. So I can work remotely, you know, for 3 hours a week, but I insure some of the biggest hotels on this island. So I'm very thankful. It took a long time to get to this stage. And I've learned a lot, met a lot of people, and had a lot of failures as well. Even now with season 2, I got to season 2 of my program, and the you know, you have hurdles, because one of the guys works in a different country, that works from Sri Lanka. Another guy works in Seychelles. They've got their projects, and there's so few of these people with those skills to do that. If I was in England and somebody didn't give me something and I had to wait a week or two, I'd simply have a choice of another 100 people that I could call and say, "Hey, look, I need this to be done." But in Seychelles, it's not always that way. It's not always that way. So you have to make do with what you've got. So maybe that makes things a lot more special, to be able to do, to be able to do these things, really. Now, the thing is, one of the things I'd say, you know, why does seminars really matter in a digital world? In a digital world, we can do things like this. It's great, and you can connect with people. But I think when you have a situation where you can actually go up to a human being and you see the guy that's right in front of you, and you can actually talk to him, and there's other people around you, somehow, you know, you can touch the person and it's real. And I think with all these AI, I mean, I could just be a robot actually saying that, and you could ask me questions and I could answer them. But the fact that I'm actually there in front of you, in person, I think, you know, just really reiterates that conviction. The other thing that I would say, that I've been very lucky to make these TV programs. The TV programs, all they are, the way that started, it was because of. Right. Okay. So that's it. My timing. I couldn't do both. So
it is your time. It's 6 minutes. So there'll be time in the Q&A to continue. Thank you, Claude.
Yeah.
Enjoyed. Sure. And I didn't. I've got a picture I can show as well, which I didn't flash up for you. So I'll do that in the Q&A time as well. So thank you very much. Becky, are you ready for your 6 minutes? Ready? Okay. I'm going to put Becky onto the 6 minutes. Let me just get you into solo layout. Solo layout. There you go. Enjoy.
Hi, thank you. So my day job is working for the RHS as a horticulture advisor. So the topic of plant establishment comes up so many times. And I always like to think of it as making plants feel at home in your garden. I often get people say to me, "I can't grow plants. I always kill them. They just don't fail to thrive." But I do believe there are a few tips that I can share with you, also a few kind of good habits you can develop so that you can have a lovely lush green garden and enjoy it. So the best place to start is always right plant, right place. So you don't really want a camellia to look all yellow and sick in alkaline soil, and equally you don't want a pink hydrangea to look or to turn blue in alkaline soil, in in acid soil. Yeah, that's the one. So they go blue in acid, and alkaline, they go pink. So yeah, so you need to have the right soil for the right plants. It pays to check what kind of soil you have, and equally knowing what kind of sunshine you've got in your garden, because you don't want a sun worshipper to like completely sulk in the shade, or you don't want an overexposed site and have everything all shriveled up or just not thrive, really. So yeah, right plant, right place. Also, then it's kind of thinking, right, well, what time of year am I going to be planting my garden up? Because it really does pay to kind of be patient and take time to plan at the right time. With our ever-changing climate, it can be quite tricky to kind of work out, well, you know, when can I plant? We're having quite wet autumns and winters. But spring is always pretty reliable. I know it's a bit dry this year, but it's very reliable and everything shoots up in spring. So I like a good old spring planting, March time, and then a lot of plants can get established over the summer months, and you can enjoy your garden over the summer while you're looking after those nice new plants. Then my top tip is to actually take time over your planting of your plants. It's the fun job. It's a really nice thing, so don't rush it. Water the plants the night before so they're all primed and ready, and then early morning or early evening, so you're not in the full baking of the sun. That planting time is the essential time for getting them in the garden. So taking your time, digging the nice holes, mulching, finishing the job, and doing a really nice, splendid task of it. And, you know, stand back, have a cup of tea, enjoy it. Now, this is the crucial bit. So in my job, I tend to find people fall into two camps of gardener. You get those that kind of plant plants and forget about them. And then you get those people that water them every single day without fail, even if it has rained. It's so there are some plants that you can plant and, you know, probably leave them there and they'll be fine. But majority of plants will need tending to the odd occasion over the summer just to make sure they're okay. Watering every day is tiresome, and it's also quite expensive for the water bill, and it just doesn't need to be done. And the plants sit there in a soggy mess with rotten roots. It was quite an interesting time having to explain to my mother-in-law that she had overwatered her prized new rose in her garden in her clay soil, so it just compounded the issue. So yeah, it was a difficult one. So the trick with watering is to make sure that you just about water them just as they need it. So you're allowing them time to kind of, you know, venture out and put their own roots into the ground. So you're not babysitting them. They're not just sat there living the life of Riley. They are reaching out their roots and trying to get themselves established and growing nice and happily. Don't be fooled by the wilting. A wilting plant can be wilting because it's overwatered, and it also can be wilting because it is too dry. The key is to check the soil. So dig down about 5 centimeters, and that's where you kind of find the prime moisture. Don't be fooled by the top. That can sometimes be crusty. But that 5 centimeter depth is where it's kind of the sweet spot for those nice new roots to be checking. So that is the level that you kind of want it, you know, to be damp at. So yeah, so watering late, early evening, early morning, so you're not, that water's not evaporating in the middle of the day. Then you kind of, it's not just 1 year that you have an establishing plants, especially trees and shrubs. Prior to being an advisor, I worked in the Arboretum at Wisley, and my favourite job was planting the baby trees and getting them established. Every Friday, I would water them, give them a good old soak, tick it off on my little list, and away I'd go. The little list was great because it made sure that I didn't miss anybody. but it was also a way of checking and checking that I'd done all the little jobs required for them, so mulching, staking, and also by having a record, I could record which year I'd planted them, and then I could completely make sure that I watered them the following year and the year after that, because trees and shrubs tend to take 3 to 4 years to get established.
Thank you, Becky.
No problem.
Well done. I love your mic. It's really clear. Thank you very
Good.
much. Okay, Ruth, are you ready for your 6? You good? I'm going to just put your banner up. Are you there, Ruth?
I'm here, yes.
Good, I can hear you. Okay. Are you ready to go?
Yeah.
Have fun, enjoy. There you go.
Okay, so I've got the longest title, so I think if I read it all out, I'm going to take a minute of my 6 just going through it. But I just thought I'd very quickly go through each thing in turn. Jane provided me the title. I thought, right, I'm not going to edit it. I'm just going to respond. So the face of wellbeing, I'm not altogether sure I am that, because I do tend to hide behind my brand and imagery that doesn't include me. I'm not a big fan of cameras. So doing stuff like this is definitely outside my comfort zone. However, I think it's something that I'm increasingly recognising I have to do if I'm going to get my messages further afield. The face yoga is something I studied for when we were in lockdown. It was an opportunity to do an online course, but it was something I've been interested in for years and years and years. And it's a really simple practice. It's a great thing that I can integrate with the yoga I already teach. And I also, off the back of that, have created my own 4-week course and 2-hour workshop to enable people just to get a taster of what it's all about. The upside about face yoga is you can practice it really easily every day. The downside is it's not something you could do in a class once a week, because it requires you to do that daily practice. So the reason I do it as a course or a workshop is to give people the tools to see what they should do for their faces. So if you are watching now and if you've got your mobile phone with you and can go into selfie mode, I'd recommend just having a little look at your nostrils and seeing how even they are. So the way face yoga works, or why face yoga works, is because the muscles in the face connect with the skin rather than the bones. So if you tone the muscles, you tone the skin in a way that you wouldn't do elsewhere in the body, where the skin and the muscles just coexist quite independently of each other. And the sort of fleshiest part, or the most malleable part of the face is your nose, and the shape of your nostrils is determined by the strength of the muscles that lift them. And invariably, when people sneer spontaneously, they favour a particular nostril. So if you have a look at your 2 nostrils, and if you had a favourite nostril, the chances are that nostril is on your stronger side. So you can put that to the test by sneering to the left and sneering to the right, and seeing which of your sneers is stronger and higher, and whether or not that corresponds. And if you want to know more about face yoga, you can go to the website, which maybe Jane will share later. But there's a few free resources and information on the courses too. And another thing I'd like to share with you about the face yoga as well is, it's really important just to relax your forehead at any time that you can. So a little stroke of the forehead is a great way of relieving stress. And we in the West in particular overexpress with our eyebrows, and that brings those horizontal lines into play across the forehead. And the more you train yourself to relax your forehead and use your eyes more in way of expression rather than your eyebrows, then the smoother the forehead will remain. I'm afraid if you've got wrinkles already, I can't dispense with them, but I can certainly recommend that practice to certainly prevent them getting worse and perhaps diminish them a little. Festivals is something I've worked with since 2021. Again, a lockdown thing. I had a community organisation, and Jane came to join it, and it was just reaching out to people locally who wanted to support each other, who were wellbeing practitioners. And it turned out there were quite a lot in Burpham. So off the back of that, we set around doing a festival, which I ran for 3 years successfully in Burpham. I've done healing fields in Guildfest, which is our local music festival, and then this year we're having the inaugural Surrey Hills Well Fest, which is a bigger affair in Horsley Towers, De Vere Horsley Towers, which is just up the road. And yeah, festivals are quite an organisational undertaking. So the feedback I would give anybody attending a festival is really make the most of your day. Our two key hashtags for Wellfest are stay all day and plan your day. And people who do organise festivals really do organise great shows. So rather than just turning up on the day going, what's going on now? If you are going to a festival this year, have a look at the website, see what's going on, and really plan your day so you get full value out of that day. Because I can guarantee there's somebody at the other end of that festival who's put their heart and soul into making it the best experience they possibly can. So if you want to have the best experience you possibly can, then I would recommend that you do a bit of forward planning so that you know what you want to do, particularly if some of these elements have limited capacity. And the final thing is finding your flow. I don't know whether I've quite found it yet. But I'm certainly more in my flow than I used to be. I think as I've got older, it's just about having a bit more trust in what you instinctively know is wrong and right. And there's so many times where I've done things which didn't really feel right in my gut, and then it was right ultimately not to have done it. And the one thing I wanted to share in this conversation or this presentation was I was at a spiritual church event, and we were doing meditations, and I was encouraged to come up with an affirmation, and just a spontaneous one. I sort of trust it, and the affirmation I came up with was, I have enough time to do everything. And it was at a time where I felt like I didn't have enough time to do everything, and just changing that mindset and using that affirmation enabled me to just manage my time better. So if you want to find your flow, then maybe stop a little and think about what your affirmation should be, and I reckon you'd probably find it. And I think that's about 6 minutes, Jane, is it, or not? Have I finished early?
Yeah, well done. That was 5.5 minutes. Perfect. Well done, everybody. So our first 3 speakers, well done to everybody, and thank you if you've been tuning in and watching. Or as I said earlier, if you're watching on replay, please do feel free to comment if you are watching on Facebook, LinkedIn or YouTube. You can use this just as, and we can get back to you either now or afterwards. I'll obviously share your chats with the speakers. And also, as you mentioned earlier, lots of you have got links we can share, and I'll put that into the Random Dialogues newsletter, which is randomdialogues.com. will take you to the Random Dialogues newsletter, and you can find out more about the speakers as well for this week, for this month, in that in my recent newsletter. So has anyone got any questions they'd like to ask each other for the next sort of 5 minutes or so? Anyone, please fire away. Come off mute, please. And
oh, I quite with the face yoga. I was definitely doing while you were speaking. How do you relax your jaw? That's one of my favourite things to do, is clenching my jaw.
So if you just part your top and lower teeth and just slide your tongue in between and relax, the person who holds the most tension in their jaw will feel their teeth pressing together. Can you feel that or not when you do that?
No.
Well, you haven't got that tenser jaw.
Okay. Okay. So that's, yeah.
So that's a good sign. You will also find that the side you sleep on will be the side you carry the most tension on. And ideally in face yoga, we say sleep on your back, but that's always easy done. But there is an acupressure point just at the junction of the jaw. So if you take your index fingers to the junction of the jaw and just negotiate your way in with a little circular massage and then apply pressure, you will feel tension. So just at the junction of the jaw.
Yeah.
Can you feel that?
Yeah.
And that's where you can press to relax your jaw.
Okay.
And you may feel one side's more tender than the other. The more tender side is the tighter side. And that's invariably the side that you sleep on as well.
It is.
And Becky,
I have a question.
I have one too.
Claude, do you want to go first, and then
me?
Yeah, the thing is, I have enough time to do everything. I love that, and I was just thinking, with that affirmation, does that mean you cram more stuff into a very small space of time, or does it mean that you don't feel so guilty about not doing number 7, if you know what I mean? No,
it just, for me, my personal experience was the next day I had just as much to do, but I just got it all done, and it was just a really weird, spiritual experience almost. So it was just an attitudinal shift, not a workload shift. It was a productivity shift, just from coming up with that affirmation. It wasn't one that I thought, oh, I need to come out with this affirmation. It was just one that came to me spontaneously, and it absolutely made a difference. And I return to it every now and then when I'm getting close to overwhelm.
Thank you.
Okay,
Val,
good,
you have a question?
Good, I'll use
Yes,
it.
I wanted to ask Daniel about his television programs. Can we see an example of one of them? Could we talk on one of them?
You can see an example of it, because I gave sorry, I forgot, but Jane, I gave Jane the URL, so you can certainly see it. It's the thing is it's a program that I do for the Seychelles Broadcasting Corporation, so it has to be relevant to Seychelles, and I just picked people that were entrepreneurs, and and all the struggles that they actually went through to get to where they got to. About talking on one of them, well, I don't know. I mean, maybe I could do something for people in England that have, and I thought of doing that, but anyway, that's another conversation. But who knows? I'm sure there probably is a TV program there. So.
I have something to say which would be suitable for the Seychelles, because it's about intergenerational learning, which is about everything in the whole world. Everyone in the whole world.
Mm-hmm.
We need to learn from our elders and to ask the youngsters to teach us, because we're never going to catch up with all this technology, not at my age. So, let's have a little program which we can float around the world, even via Facebook, via.
No, I agree. I mean, I agree with you. I did a chat show a couple of weeks ago, and I was very lucky to something that I learned in Dubai. The Sheikh's vision is for all the kids, because I had some teachers actually from the Australian International School in Dubai at my last seminar, and they said the Sheikh's vision is for all the kids to be well equipped with either AI or entrepreneurship, because the stuff they were learning at school, the degrees or the A levels or whatever, they're for jobs that are not going to exist by the time they finish graduating. So you're exactly right. Because they're first-hand at these things, we need to actually learn from them as much as we can. I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Let's talk afterwards.
Yeah,
Now you have a question, then we're going to move on to the next three speakers.
Okay. Question to Ruth was just about the Wellness Fest. I'm sort of it sounds like the kind of thing I'd go to. Is it on a particular occasion, on a particular location, or is it a sort of something that happens over a period?
It's a one-day. Sorry, it's a one-day festival on the 27th of July at the De Vere Horsley. And we've got various streams, and one of the streams is great for guys. So we've got some men-only meditations and circles and what have you, because just looking at the ticket sales, which actually are healthy, we get so many women booking, and men don't look after themselves as much as they should. And usually they only begin to look after themselves when a female in their life leads them to well-being, which was the subject of my post sort of around mental health week, which was last week. So we've got some great organisations there who are, well-being for all, and then some that are well-being for men in particular. So it'd be lovely to have you there.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. I'll share the links for everything in the next update, which will be in the next few days. So over to Christine. Are you ready to do your 6-minute talk?
I am.
Okay. Banner ready. Solo layout. Enjoy.
Hi, I'm Christine, and the Beetle made me do it. Let me tell you a story. 2.5 years ago, I was made redundant. Anybody here been made redundant? Perhaps you have. Or perhaps you've had to change a job for some reason. It had a big impact on me. I was really fortunate that my role in this large corporate was responsibility for learning, and I love to learn. I'm a self-confessed learn-aholic. Give me a training course and I love to do it. And over 20 years ago now, I trained to be a coach, and I've built my training skills. So I just love to help other people to learn as well. So being made redundant was a big change for me. I really felt that I'd lost my identity. But fortunately for me, I have dogs. I'm a crazy dog mother. I have 3 dogs. They're my 3 personal trainers. And every morning I take my dogs for a walk for about an hour, and we walk through the woods by the river. It's incredible. And normally I use that time to be putting the world to rights, thinking about all the things on my to-do list, and just in my own little world until we get to the end of the walk. Because I love to learn, and because I was really struggling to know who I am without my corporate identity, I decided to take this program, which was called Positive Intelligence. And there's a great app that's part of it. And every morning it encourages me to just be really mindful and to really pay attention to the color that I'm seeing and to notice the shades, and then to listen to the birds and hear the sound that's furthest away and then the sound that's closest to me, and to notice what's under my feet as I'm walking. So just paying a lot more attention. Now, I've had dogs for 30 years, and I moved here in Cornwall 3.5 years ago, and I pretty much do the same walk every day. But because of this program, I've become a lot more present, and I've really started to notice my surroundings. And as I'm walking up the hill one day, I notice a really bright, shiny object just there in the mud and in the tree leaves ahead of me. I look a little closer and I notice it's a beetle. Oh, never seen a beetle like that before. But I carried on walking, and after maybe another 40 or 50 steps, I came across another one. Again, you just couldn't miss it. The sun was shining and it was just really brilliant, metallic, turquoisey blue. So this time I took a closer look, and it was so brilliantly blue that I took a picture of it, a photo on my phone. And I noticed when I took the photo that it was actually a beetle that was on its back, and its legs were motionless. So this beetle was just lying there, brilliantly coloured, on its back. So, of course, I had to turn it over. So I turned it over, and it was quite a nice colour on top, but nowhere near as incredibly coloured as it was underneath. And I started to feel guilty because I hadn't turned over the first one. So I had to retrace my steps and turn him over as well. I carried on and took a picture of him, actually, the right way up, and carried on in my walk. Came home, told my mother, and, it was just one of those things. Anyhow, the next day, I see another beetle. Again, brilliantly blue, again, completely stuck on its back. So I turned it over. And the same thing happened over the coming days. I started to notice these beetles when before I'd seen nothing. Now, I've got a very clever phone. So when I was telling a friend about this, because it was becoming a bit of a phenomenon at that point, I noticed on my phone that it has some AI function, and it told me that it was not just a beetle, but it was a dung beetle. Now, my mother had told me that, and I'd been like, that's too pretty to be a dung beetle, but AI was saying the same thing. A dung beetle? This was beautiful, this beetle. Well, what it also told me was the Latin name informed me that it was a scarab beetle. Now, in ancient Egypt times, these were sacred, these beetles, and they used to be on their temples, and they would really stand for transformation and, just really sacred creatures to have in your life. But we call them dung beetles, so we've given them a horrible title. I kept seeing these beetles, and I started to think there must be some reason for these beetles showing up in my path. And remember, this was a time when I'd really lost my sense of purpose. Dung beetles have a real purpose. So without them recycling all the rubbish that they find on their journey, there wouldn't be the rich, fertile soil. There wouldn't be the incredible trees and forests that we rely on, all that carbon dioxide, helping us to breathe. They're essential for our life. They know their purpose. But when they're stuck on their back, they can't do that. They need a bit of help to get unstuck. And it slowly dawned on me. That's why I was seeing these beetles. That's my purpose, to help these little beetles that are stuck. It's my purpose to help people that are stuck in their life. I'd been stuck. Very recently, I've been stuck. And I'd had to get help to enable me to get back on my feet. And these little beetles were showing me how important it is to live your purpose. And I know now my purpose is to help people to get unstuck, not just the beetles, it's people. So if you feel stuck, if you feel like you're earning a living, but you're not living a life, if you've lost your identity, the beetle made me do it. He made me reconnect with my purpose. And my purpose is to help you to reconnect with your purpose. He's called a dung beetle. He's really a beautifully scarab beetle. How often have you hidden away your beauty? That brilliant part of you that nobody sees. Maybe even you don't see it. I certainly couldn't see my inner beauty. But when you turn this beetle over, he has amazing wings and he can fly. If we turn you over, you have amazing wings and you can fly.
Thank you, Christine. Fantastic. Val, are you ready? She's on mute. Let's see if I can unmute you from this side. No, let's see. Unmute my. There you go. I've done you. It's fine.
Thank you. I couldn't see it very well.
That's right. So I'm going to put you into solo layout now. Okay, you ready?
Yes,
Put you
I'm
into
ready.
solo for your 6 minutes. Off you go. Enjoy.
Hello. Well, I'm Granny Val, and my speech was supposed to be about how can we save the planet in our lifetime, and the answer is no. Of course we can't. But this not in my lifetime, because I'm going to be 84 soon, on the 4th of July. What we need to do is look at our planet, just as that lady was looking at the scarab beetle, and seeing the beauty of it, and seeing what we can actually do, what we can achieve. So now I'm going to tell you a little story, and it is a true story. During COVID, I couldn't have a party for my birthday, and I was a bit miffed about it. And I posted on Facebook, and a young man in Malawi, Learn with Grandma, my project is called Learn with Grandma, and it's actually in more than 50 countries around the world. And this young man was from Malawi, and he said, Grandma, I'll plant a tree for your birthday. And I thought, oh, how sweet. And then he sent me a photograph of it, and I sent a message around the world. Please plant a tree for Granny. I'm not going to miss my birthday this year. Over 3 million trees were planted. Isn't that amazing? That came to the attention of the Welsh, I forgot what she was called now, champion for older people. And she said, would I like to go to Glasgow to speak at the COP? And I said, yeah, of course. And then the Welsh government were going to pay for my trip. I had to go down to Cardiff first to stay in a hotel, go up on the train. I was only going for 3 days, and they were paying all the bills. I said, this is madness. I can go free on the train with my OAP card to Shrewsbury. You can pick up the tab from there, and I'll sort my own accommodation out. So I put a notice up on Facebook. I'm looking for a bed. I'm coming to COP. And I got to stay in a beautiful flat, just one station away from the main Glasgow station. And what's more, I got into the conference every day, not just a 3-day pass. I got it every day. I sneaked a bit. I made sure that all the people on the doors knew me. I made friends with them. And then one day when I had to show my pass and the lady said, oh, it's out of date. I said, oh, yes, I'm so sorry. I only really wanted to see one person. But look, he knows me. And he called across the water. Oh, she's all right. Forget the security. I got in because I opened my mouth and asked. If you don't ask, you don't get. So I'm going to ask you now, do join Learn with Grandma. Do use it. Learn with Grandma is about sharing skills and knowledge across the generations. Intergenerational learning. When I first started talking about intergenerational learning, people said, what does it mean? And I said, well, it means what it always did, that the elders have got skills to pass on. And we are in a different situation now to when I was young, because we didn't have all this technology. But the youngsters have grown up with it. So we need to bring the generations together to learn from one another. And you can do that. All the things that you've been talking about, you can share. Use the technology to share the skills, share the knowledge, and then we can all learn more. I like the last speaker, I love learning. And in fact, I do get sidetracked occasionally. Well, not more than occasionally. I get sidetracked when I see something really interesting and have to find out who, what, where, why, when, how does this happen? I'm dyslexic, which in my day when I was young was considered a great disadvantage. Now, 50% of the scientists in NASA are dyslexic. It's now acknowledged that dyslexic people think outside the box. I'll give you a little example of that. When I was 15 and got my first job, oh, by the way, I only went to school for 5 years because I had TB as a child and nearly died. And then I left school at 15, as we did in those days. And I, sorry, I lost my thread for a moment. We went to college one day a week, and we had to write a story. And of course, we didn't have spell checks in those days. And he read it out verbatim with all the mistakes. And I was mortified. And then he said, and now I have to tell you, that is the best story about this project that I have ever read. They were all laughing at me. Thinking outside the box doesn't mean it means we do think slightly differently. When I got my first job in a wool warehouse, the manager showed me how I had to move all the packets along to keep the dye lots together. And I thought, that's crackers. So I picked up the last 4 packets and put them in the hole. It's very simple. Dyslexics find a way. They wouldn't employ that many in NASA if that wasn't true. But it doesn't mean if you're not dyslexic, you can't also learn. Learning is the key to life, really. I'm getting towards the end of mine. I'm going to be 84 on the 4th of July, and I'm going to have a party.
Thank you, Val. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Niall, over to you.
Okay. Yes. So, 10 years living in Eastern Europe taught me about connection, community, and home. It wasn't anything about either place, but I will say that we don't do one thing they do. A few things they do well are cooking from fresh ingredients, like a lot of the world. We do eat, like the Americans, a lot of processed food here in comparison. They do family very well. Family gatherings, often over food, and taking a lot of time over that. They do weddings very well. In my early years living out there, I attended a British family wedding, quite close, within a few months of a Bulgarian wedding, and I can say we had a lot more fun at the Bulgarian one. Much less formality, much less speaking, and speeches actually. A lot more dancing, a lot more smiling, a lot more laughter, a lot more movement. But that's not the point of the talk. I just wanted to say there were some things that were different. What I'll say about moving between countries and spending a significant amount of my life in another part of the world, obviously I'm from the UK, is your sense of what home is becomes something quite different. Your sense of whether your home as a geographical single place, it definitely shifts. In my case, I've sort of had extended periods of not being. I came out of a family unit essentially, and I've ended up moving around between the two countries and around within the UK, trying to find the place that feels right. So going to live in another country definitely changes you. There are definite upsides. I don't regret having gone, but there are definite downsides. And I think I can say that it was a lot easier to leave with a very good expat job than it was to come back in a recession. So I came back once in the recession of 2009, 2010, in that period, but it took me a long time to realize I had to come back, and I came back in lockdown again on my second tour. And so there was this sort of dark time where I was wandering the streets and wandering in the woods a lot, trying to find the answers on my own, if you like, and sometimes feeling quite disorientated. And actually, one of the feelings is being like an alien. So you feel like prodded a little bit by your own people when you come back to the place that you're from, because you're kind of forgotten, you've changed, the people that you used to know have moved on, and you're kind of arriving and starting again. And what it led to for me for many years was a lot of overthinking in the extreme, and a certain sense of no quick solution. So sort of like an alien, it's sort of like you have to start all over again, and there's no sense of really no sense of people feeling like, oh, where were you? But this is where the power of I've worked on a talk over the last 12 to 18 months around the power of welcoming spaces, because although the vast majority of people in my own country, I would say, were very much getting on with their own lives, there's certain people that you meet in certain communities you come into that are welcoming and open. So part of my observation is how important it is to have that kind of openness, seeing beyond the horizon of your local shire or your local area, having that openness to people returning, people coming back. And so in my Power of Welcoming Spaces talk, I talk about how that return can be from, of course, being abroad, but it can be from many different things. That sense of there being welcoming spaces. Jane's been an example of one of the sort of people who's been like that for me. I have another friend called Ryan who was running a dinner club down in Bristol, and walking into his dinner club for the first time kind of changed my life, and it led to a project with a guy called Jules, a third person, who had an open campsite, and we did a project together to help people feel very welcome at his campsite, which brings me round to kind of coming back into the light of what I've been doing a lot of the last 7 or 8 years, of just creating spaces for where people that feel like home. Very often I did a significant piece of work with a men's mental health charity, and since then I've run dinners and lunches and become a performing musician, and hundreds, if not thousands, of people have attended events that I've been championing. It's all been positive. It's all been joyful. If I hadn't had the experiences I've had, I would never have done it. So yeah, for forecasting. And so in terms of coming back to the original question, yeah, I've been on a journey. I've learned, I've felt what it's like to feel disconnected, to feel like an alien in your own country, to feel a little bit between places. And so I really believe deeply in the power of community, the power of making people feel welcome and bringing people, and recognizing that sometimes people feel that way. And if there are lots of welcoming spaces out there, then less people are going to get lost. And in terms of home, it's possible to create places that have that sense of home, even if you've lost that real place that you might have originally have once called home. And that's 6 minutes, I think. My first outing with that talk, so a little bit ad lib. But thank you, Jane, for inviting me.
Well done. Thank you for being here. Thank you, everybody, and well done. So lots of new speakers today, and some of you I know haven't sort of spoken like this before. I think some of you are more seasoned. You have spoken on bigger platforms. So yeah, well done for being here today and sharing your message. And I know, as I've said, that people do tune in and watch this, and they might not be here today, but they do watch on replay. So I'll just pop the link up here. randomdialogues.com should hopefully go towards the newsletter, and then your profiles are all in, as I said, this week's newsletter, so people can have a read, and then I'll do a separate one with all your links and stuff soon. So has anyone got any questions for each other, or comments, anything they want to share before we finish in 10 minutes? Christine.
The welcomings, John.
Yeah, so Val, I was really impressed with your talk. You're totally talking my language when it comes to learning, and I would love to be as impactful as you've been, like when I get to your age. So that's just fantastic. I'm definitely going to be looking up Learn with Grandma, because that just is incredible. And I can already hear the difference that incredible way of thinking has, and that's innovative, out of the box thinking that you talk about, the value that brings. So massive thanks. I used to work for Microsoft. We heavily relied on people who were out of the box thinkers. So dyslexics, those that are neurodivergent, that was where all the genius ideas came from. So yeah, just brilliant talk. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. Claude, you wanted to say something?
I think the welcoming space, as the last speaker, Niall are living in Eastern Europe and creating that welcoming space. I think there's something very, very special about that. Having ran networking events in London and also in Seychelles for a long time, I can really relate to that. And when you talk about this welcoming space, something very special that you don't find in many places. There's many events going on of many different descriptions, hundreds of them. But how many give you this heartfelt, warm and fuzzy feeling? I can connect with that.
There was a specific village welcoming ceremony I experienced, which was just one of the most special moments of my life. So simple. And it's based on, it may be a myth, whether it's real or not. If you Google it, you can't find anything. But it's the idea that when people left the village to go on travels for war or for work in the old times, when they came back to the village, they were welcomed with this kind of ritualistic way. And you could think of that in modern times as from all kinds of different things, not only from being away from the village, but away from the global village, from illness, from whatever it is. But it's such a beautiful experience that leaves everyone in tears to be welcomed properly into a space using a very simple ritual that takes a few minutes, but it's really, really beautiful.
One of the saddest
that's one of the things that really inspires me.
One of the saddest things as you get older is the place that you go back to that you would call home. As you get older, people disappear, people pass away. One of the nicest things I heard actually in the last week was there was a guy, it was a kind of really reminded me of a little bit of myself, where he went home, the job went, the wife went, and that was it. But instead of the guy feeling sorry for himself, he said, that's it, I'm going on an adventure. So I think he either sold or rented his house, got a pack of money. And then he just went round the world gathering experiences. And then in the end, they made a film out of his experiences. I thought that's an incredible thing that the chap just let go and let God kind of attitude.
I just want to pick up on that one as well, Claude, to build on what you were saying there. So like you, I totally appreciated that value of networking when we were back there doing that. But no, having gone through that redundancy situation again, it's just that who's your tribe now? And that's sort of what you were highlighting there, wasn't it? And how important that is. So that's brilliant.
So you're talking.
I don't know who's talking.
They're welcoming you.
Not my God.
Because it doesn't
I have dogs. I have a wolf pack downstairs. That's what it is. So apologies, everyone.
So on Saturday, I've got a random dialogues gathering at the community garden. So I started these off in 2016-17, and some of them in the pub. Some of them were people came and played music and read poetry, etc. And obviously then we went on to StreamYard during lockdown. And so Saturday's going to be the first one for many years where we're going to have a little gathering. Niall's coming to play guitar, and just a few of us are going to get together and just kind of have a welcoming space at the community gardens. If you are in this area, if you would like to come along, or if you want to come over and see us, we'll be there on Saturday, and that's in Guildford.
Where are you, Jane? What part of England do you live in?
I'm in Surrey, in Guildford. That's Guildford, Surrey.
I know Guildford very well. But I'm coming to England, I think, at the end of June. But it'll be very short. But when I come in December, I'll be there for 1 month. Then I'll definitely come to one of these gatherings.
Fab. Okay. Well, we'll do something. Great. We'll contact each other and I'll put something on. Well, thank you, everybody. Very lovely to be here with you, and I hope your talks have inspired yourself. I hope you're proud of yourselves, and I'm sure people listening will be inspired as well. I know I'm really inspired by all of them. And so thank you. And I'll end the stream now, and then they'll take us back into the broadcast room if anyone wants to stay and chat. So maybe we can have a wave.
Thanks, everybody. Well done, everybody.
Cool.